Om Shri Sai Ram, offering my most humble and reverential pranams at the lotus feet of our beloved Bhagwan, Sri Satya Sai Baba. Let's begin this auspicious evening again with our prayer, and may I request all of you to please join me. O Lord, take my love and let it flow in fullness of devotion to Thee. O Lord, take my hands and let them work incessantly for Thee. O Lord, take my soul and let it be merged in one with Thee. O Lord, take my mind and thoughts and let them be in tune with Thee. O Lord, take my everything and let me be an instrument to work for Thee. Om Shri Sai Ram. The story of Ram, or for that matter, of any avatar, is a story of human evolution and a journey which each and every one of us have to take. And we are blessed for this opportunity to explore life of avatar and try to assimilate few lessons which would ultimately help us to find fulfillment and accomplishment in life. So let us continue this journey, and let me invite my brother Raju into the stream. Sai Ram, brother.
Sai Ram, brother.
So Raju, last week unfortunately your internet was not working. So let us
Yes.
do a recap quickly on where we were. So we saw that how the procession of marriage met Bhagwan Parshuram, and then we all proceeded towards Ayodhya. In Ayodhya, the mothers gave a very befitting welcome to the newly married, and bridegrooms were given that auspicious welcome, with the camphor, with arti, and right foot forward. All those rituals were done, and obviously things went very well. And Bharat and Shatrughan had to leave for Kekai, as her uncle Yudhijit, the prince of Kekai, was there, who requested uh, for these children to be accompanied back with him. So both Bharat and Shatrughan left for Kekai, and here Ram and Lakshman were in Ayodhya, and Ram engaged himself helping his father in royal tasks and performing duties. And we noticed how Ram became also very dear and popular with the population, as he was serving them and assisting his father. And then a day comes when Dashrath finds himself growing old, and while having a glass of water at night, he finds his hand shaking, and he takes as an indication that now is the time to, hang your boots, as we say. So imagine what a consciousness of Dashrath, that a small indicator that his body is not, in tune with what he is able to do. And he's immediately made up his mind that now time has come for me to step down. And he makes an announcement in the court, and people willingly accept it. There is a lot of discussion, and that is where we had, understood the approach of Dashrath, approach of Kekai. But we look at the storyline now, Raju, that how when Dashrath announces it, that he wants to hand it over, and everybody is so excited and you know shouting with excitement. There, Vashisht, the guru, raises an objection. So, Raju, how do you look at that objection part of it? When everybody was in excitement, and here comes the intelligence and intellect of a guru, which says that you know, no, wait, this is not the right time to do
Yes,
things.
yes. In fact, it's a uh, it's an act that all of us should be pondering over. Why is it that Vasishtha objected in the first place? And second, why is it that Swami chose to mention it so specifically? And the wordings which Swami uses to describe Vasishtha's uh, request to Dasharatha, or rather suggestion to Dasharatha to postpone, are also very profound and subtly worded. Vasishtha, as the crowd was jubilant, as everybody were almost certain that this is going to get through, it was Vasishtha alone who stood up. Because if you look at character of Vasishtha, he's also considered to be Brahmarshi, who knew the past, who knows the present, and who also knows what will be the future like. So he foresaw what it is going to come, and he very skillfully, tactfully stops the argument, and then he uses the word that Dashrata, everything happened on the spur of the moment. Dashrata, the marriage happened on the spur of the moment. If we read those sentences very carefully, he says, he uses the word spur of the moment, and he also says, but by the grace of the gods, that the bridegroom turned out to be a blessing, and hence everything fell in place. It was a very powerful but subtly worded warning to us, to Dasharatha. The Swami mentions, remember Brother Radhakrishna's experience where he would uh, talk about that experience where Swami had called him once as he was passing by. He was holding a jug. He just took time. He turned around, put the jug on the stool next to him, and ran to Swami. Then he said, Swami, I've come. Swami said, I've called you then. Why now? So, such is the alertness that a mind should be of when you are listening to the words of divine. Swami is very subtly and clearly showing the lacuna in Dasharatha. I mean, if I can use the word, Dasharatha is being pointed out. Why did Vasishtha use the word spur of the moment? It is because if you look at the four reasons that actually turned Dasharatha into a pile of misery, he, on the spur of the moment, he gave his promise to Kaikeyi. I will fulfill your two boons. He goes to forest, then he hears that water sound, and on the spur of the moment he decides that it is actually an elephant drinking the water, and he hits the arrow, and it turns out to be Shravana Kumara, whose parents cursed Dashratha. And Janaka's emissaries come.
But just
They,
in defense, Raju, defense of Dasharath,
yes, brother.
he also objects. He also kind of he tells the courtesans and everybody, you are free to take time and get back to me. But the crowd is so overwhelmed with the decision that they again scream back, Shubham, Shubham, and all that. And Dashrath gives in. So
Yes, that
Dashrath,
is
if
where.
you notice, he has not taken the unilateral decision, but he
Yes,
has not objected to the decision. That is true. But he has not taken decision.
yes,
So it's
but
a very
so.
the skillful of Dashrath also is shown here.
Right, right. I agree. I agree. So, my limited point is Dasharatha should have been little more alert to the warning of Vasishtha, where Vasishtha is saying it is part of the moment. Give them time to think. Why did you use the sentence? It is because all of them are excited. It's like a when king says something, it's like the Chinese whisper. When king sneezes, the entire world catches cold. The entire crowd catches cold. So King has said, and just to please King, there are multitudes of minds whose some of their provocations would be only to please the king and nothing else. Don't think deeply. But here was Vasishtha acting as the conscience of Dashratha, and had Dashratha been alert, he says that the bridegroom turned out to be a grace, and everything happened. Everything turned out to be well with the marriage, which is also another subtle warning to Dashratha that the other two. So for spur of the moment decision that he has taken, the one with to Kaikeyi, the one to Shravan Kumar's death, the one regarding Sita's marriage or Rama's marriage, and the one regarding coronation. Vasishtha very carefully says the one with grace, with the marriage turned out to be a God's grace, which means it's also as good as saying that the king's eldest wife is a good one. which means the younger one is not good. So Dashratha, I somehow personally feel that Dashratha wasn't that alert. He was overwhelmed with the excitement of the
Yeah,
crowd.
yeah, we can say that Dashrath, he was conscious. He was a dharmic. He was himself a Rajarishi, but
Yes,
his emotions ruled him first. So, because
absolutely,
of his excitement and love for Ram, when people started screaming, he made that logical thought control, and he gave in to the emotions. And that is the issue of Dashrath, actually, if you call it so. That
hmm,
Dashrath did not stick on to his own conviction. He told the people that you can take time, but he didn't take time himself. And then he turns to the Vashisht and says, Vashisht, when everybody is saying, and Vashisht gave all the logical reasoning, and then he says to him, what is the best date? And Vashisht says, tomorrow is the most auspicious date. And that turns into an excitement that, okay, let's do it tomorrow itself. So that is a very beautiful, catch. But look at how dharma. What interests me is that how subtle dharma is, and if we do not remain alert, then it is highly likely to slip and miss the point. So
absolutely.
I think that's what Swami used to call it sukshma buddhi.
Sukshma buddhi, true, exactly, exactly.
That
In fact,
alertness of sukshma buddhi must be there. You must know what is coming. You must be alert to listen. You must understand the words which are not spoken. So then that alertment comes. And here Vashisht says, yet you are emotionally bound that you miss it. But look at
absolutely,
the other way. When everything is decided and Vashisht says tomorrow is the day, they call for Ram. And as Ram enters and he hears this news, instead of getting excited or happy about the news, Ram is kind of concerned and he raises objections, right? So, what do you
absolutely.
think
In fact,
about that?
I think apart from Vasistha, there are only two people who objected to the coronation openly. One was Vasistha, second is Sri Rama himself. Rama, again, very, if you read that sentence, he says, uh, even before Dashtata concluded that, so he looks at uh, Dashrata and then tells him that the Kaikeyi's father, grandfather is also not around. Janaka is also not around. Brothers are also not around. So we should give time for all of them to be present and and then prepare for this coronation. Which, if you look at the word that he's using, so he says, "Father, I don't understand why you're acting in such a hurry." This itself again was a subtle same warning that even Vasishtha gave. Then he says, "My dear brothers, Bharata and Shatrugna are not here. Grandfather is far away. Father-in-law also might not be able to come. Rulers of other state, princes, vassal kings may also find it difficult to attend." So, which is again a very wielded kind of a message to Dashratha that father, should we not wait? But Dashratha, being Dasharatha, as he was overwhelmed with the excitement, now so beautiful is the part of Vasishtha here that once the majority have accepted a decision, he is again gets bound by the dharma of the crowd or dharma of Sangha, where now he has to bow down his head to the decision that is taken by the society or by the Sangha. So he just, it is Vasishtha who now tells Rama that we have discussed all this, now don't object. In it's also a uh, very coded way of telling Rama. It appears like it's a very coded way of telling Rama. Two enlightened beings are talking to each other that we cannot do anything. Dasratha has decided, or the fate has decided, that Dasratha has to undergo the pain. There is nothing that we can do to avoid now. He has to undergo the pain. Don't stop it.
Raju, I get two thoughts here. One is that if Vashisht knew and Ram knew, obviously, the whole thing, And we have also discussed how Ram has requested Kekai mother to play her role. So, keeping that backdrop in mind, it looks very strange that both of them should raise this concern, right? Of don't have the coronation because they know very well it will happen. So, which means the destiny must happen. But while the destiny is happening, what is my role? What is my dharma? And that is an important aspect. I am forced to relate to Krishna's life. When Mahabharat war was being played and Krishna goes as a missionary to Kauravas, he gives them 5 villages and he says, accept it. They refuse. And when he comes back, in fact, I think it was Arjun who asks him, Krishna, imagine if Duryodhan would have accepted your deal. How unfair that would have been. And Krishna very smilingly says, Arjun, more than my own skills of negotiation, I trusted the character of Duryodhan. I knew he will not deviate from his evil thoughts. So that is the strong hold of vasanas and destiny. So, which means, in spite of knowing that things will happen differently, a dharmic person who is walking the path of dharma cannot leave his dharma. So, in the fear that what if Duryodhan changes his mind and accepts it, it does not stop Krishna to do what is right. In spite of Ram knowing very well that if they change the whole thing, the Ramayana would be written differently. That did not change Ram and Vashisht, who are Brahmagyanis, to deviate from their dharma. Dharma at that moment says that this is not right. The decisions was not appropriately thought through, and hence these both people raise objection. So I find it a very beautiful, a synthesis of dharma, how they have played it and how they followed it, even though knowing very well that if anybody would have accepted their objection, then Ramayana would be totally different.
Absolutely, brother.
It would have been different game altogether. But this is what it is.
And the fact that Rama has not approached Dasharatha but he approached Kaikeyi, which means Rama knew that Dasharatha was not probably capable of heeding the warning, but on the other
Ready
hand, it is the surrender of Kaikeyi that is far more certain to be displayed.
to display it. Yes. So I think that is a very interesting aspect which we learn from here, that how Ram could trust Kekai more than even his own father Dasharath. And, and in spite of going through all the criticism and hell, Mother Kekai still floated with Ram, and Ram loved her. And that's a very beautiful point. So, and in this episode, what Bhagwan is very subtly writing that Lakshman runs with the news when he hears, he runs to Kaushalya to inform her. And the back, Ram is having this dialogue with in the court. So Lakshman was neither present to raise objection because he was too excited that my brother is becoming a prince. He was very cool and he ran to the mother, and then Ram first leaves when when Vishesh tells him that Ram, don't object. We have already discussed, and this is the majority voice. So Ram and Vashisht have raised objections. They have done their dharma, and now they follow the protocol. So Ram goes to Kaushalya to inform. Can you imagine? Lakshman is there. Kaushalya is excited that my son is becoming a prince tomorrow, and she is in the preparational mode. She's already giving instructions, and she has already made them do charity and all that. So Ram and Sita have already started doing charity. They have done those charity, and now Ram returns to Kaushalya to break this news. So Raju, give us a glimpse of the discussion and the interaction between the mother and son, Ram and Kaushalya.
Yes, brother. In fact, the first sentence, if you there's a strange uh, excitement from Kausalya. So she made Rama give away many varieties of gifts, as Swami writes, and then look at the way in which she commands Ramachandra. She says, "I waited for so long for this precious moment, and my yearning is now fulfilled. I'm happy. My life is rendered worthwhile." She tells him, rule, live long, rule over the empire, let the welfare of the people be ever your ideal. May your rule be happy and secure in accordance with the dictates of justice and morality. Accumulate untarnished fame and maintain the reputation and glory earned by the king of this line. I will feel that my life has attained fruition, my woes fast and vigils have will have then borne fruit. This is almost so similar to what Ishwarama tells Swami. She is not telling him to expand the empire. She is not telling him to project his power of his position of authority. But she instead insists that Rama should be a servant of the people. She puts forth the expectations that welfare of the people, dictates of dharma, and eternal fame. So if you look at even the promises that Ishwarama took from Swami are very, in fact, almost identical, we can say. That that serve people, love them. I mean, it is, yes, they took the form of hospitals and schools and colleges and also water projects, but the underlying message was almost similar. In fact, there's a discourse where Swami speaks of that incident when the teacher made Swami stand on the chair, and the chair got on the bench, and the chair got stuck to the teacher. So when Swami reaches back home, there is a lot of excitement that his classmates have already informed Ishwarama. So Ishwarama takes Swami inside, and I very clearly remember Swami says this line. He says, Ishwarama tells Swami that you should be loving and kind. Do not punish people. So the next line in the discourse was on hearing Ishwarama's advice that day. I have changed the objective of this avatar, and then love began to take the precedence, which is a shocking declaration that was
Wow.
made in a flow.
Wow.
It probably this was the ferocious Kalki avatar that all of us were spoken about, but we do not know. In my very limited understanding, that love that Mother Ishwarama wanted Swami to exhibit, that has become the forefront of this avatar. It is, in fact, this afternoon we were discussing. They were interviewing Ishwarama's contemporaries in the radio side. So all of them invariably they talk of these two things. It seems each Mother Ishwarama would make the children sit, and then she would talk about being clean, being hygienic, being studious, being devoted to God. If you observe, all these have actually have become the objectives for Balavikas, which Swami has enunciated at later points of time. It is, it is in some sense, the son is a reflection of the character of mother. That's exactly what we see of Kausalya and Ramachandra.
Beautiful.
Kausalya
Beautiful.
has not asked for authority or expansion of the kingdom. And brother, just to compare this mother to the mother in Mahabharata, the Shishpala's mother. Now, Shishpala was born with that ugly third eye, and nobody is the kid is not being allowed to be seen by others, and she gets a message that only one who holds this kid, and in whose hands the third eye disappears is the one who is going to kill him. So Krishna comes and holds that kid, and Shishpala's third eye disappears. The mother knew that Krishna is going to kill Shishpala, and she tells she could have requested Krishna to not kill him. The warning was also that for the errors committed by this kid, he will be killed by the one who holds him. Look at that mother. The promise that she makes is, allow my son to make 100 mistakes. After that, you kill him. Could she not tell Krishna that, Lord, please make sure that my son doesn't make any mistake? Could she not tell Krishna, please forgive my son? But the mind of the mother, that. My son is, I will prepare him till 100. He's okay if he commits 100 mistakes. Beyond that, please don't punish him. I mean, look at that attitude. And Krishna very cleverly, aptly replies, and we know the story of Shishpala. And here is Kausalya, mother Kausalya,
Kaushalya is
which
supposed to be embodiment of Nyaya. She was an authority in Nyaya Shastra and in Dharma Shastra. That's her introduction. So you can imagine, like Kekai was in warfare, in administration, and she was in Nyaya. I'm not sure about second mother,
Sumitra.
Sumitra. Sumitra, I don't know her qualifications, like what how it is described. But Kaushalya, we know that she has been described as one who knew Dharma Shastra and morality. So she taught that. It's very beautiful. So look at this whole preparation and Mother Kaushalya taking Ram, making them do charity and all that. They're giving instructions also that since it is a night eve of the coronation, so they must follow certain rituals, and which means that at nightfall, the rituals will begin. Ram has to do some fasting, some kind of, and Ram and Sita are supposed to sleep on a sacred kusha grass, and that is how they have to spend the night. So it's a very strong rituals they have to follow. All that is happening in one end, and the court finishes. And Dashrath, look at Dashrath's thing. He always treated Kekai as her dear, and he goes first to Kekai to inform her this good news. He wanted to break the news himself to Kekai, but in the meantime, Mantra has done her job, and Mantra has already polluted her mind. It is like they say that if you allow one negativity to enter, it multiplies faster. So instead of shunning Manthara, Kekai, out of her respect or whatever, she allowed and she heard Manthara too much, and it made an impact. And obviously, the divine drama unfolded, and she goes to the Kop Bhavan, the house of anger, as they call it. And Dashrath, when he reaches her chamber, he finds that she is not there. And an inquiry, they tell her that, Lord, the queen is in that house of anger. And Dashrath goes there. Then we know the story of how Kekai is so strong in her expression, and they have a heated argument. And ultimately, Sumantra is called in, who comes to check on Dashrath actually. It is, they say it's early morning, and Sumantra comes to Dashrath, and he finds that king is not there. On inquiry, he finds they are there, so he goes there. He's scared by the symptoms, but when he goes there, he finds the whole room in a shamble, and he finds Dashrath in a very horrible state. Dashrath is not even able to speak, and Kekai takes the control, and she commands him that go and bring Ram. That is a king's order, and he does not know the details, but the way he looks at the scenario, he's he's fearful that something horrible has happened. He goes and informs Ram, and the beauty is Ram is got up, and Ram is about to be taken to dress to take bath and all that, and Ram is ushered in, and the scene happens when Ram enters the Kopa Bhavan, and he finds his father in a very, very disturbing state. And Mother Kekai is standing there very seriously in kind of anger. And he goes and inquires from father, Father, what is wrong? Tell me, on this auspicious day, why are you like that? And when he pressurizes, he does not speak. Then Kekai jumps in. And the mother takes control and he says, your father made these promises, and now he's scared to tell you. I'm conveying his promise to you. And the promises are that Bharat to be coronated instead of you, and you must leave for forest exile for 14 years. And what is interesting, Raju, is that the, at the ease with which Ram enters, It's the same ease Ram receives the message. And he says, Mother, if that was the only reason that my father is in distress, you should have just told me. I would have obeyed you. But, anyways, all said and done, I will be happy to obey. And he takes Dashrath's blessings, and Dashrath is unwilling to let him go. But Ram, see the section, that Sukshma Buddhi, as we call it, subtlety, he leaves immediately, accepting it as a king's order. And Ram later on clarifies that to Lakshmana also. He says, it was king's order, conveyed through my mother. It was done in the presence of Dashrath. So it is Dashrath's order, and we have no business to disobey the master, the emperor. And Ram straight away comes. So, Raju, let us stop at this, and let me have your thoughts on this scene with Ram and Kekai's dialogue, and
Yes,
Ram
brother.
and
In fact,
Dashrath.
what uh, what is so beautiful about the way in which Rama speaks to Kaikeyi is he's not shocked, he's not perturbed, he's not disturbed with the commands of Kaikeyi, the requests, rather the demands of Kaikeyi. But he's even in that composure, he very beautifully retorts to Kaikeyi, saying that, why do you need to make father an excuse for this? I could have obeyed you any day, at any time of the day. One, he puts that very clearly, he makes the point that you are actually making father the scapegoat. Point two, he says, would I, Bharata is like my own. I could have been very happy had you told me that he is going to get coronated. It is also like just the like the way he spoke to Dashratha in the court. He is also telling Kaikeyi, you think Bharata is going to accept it? No, please be prepared, mother. You're going to have consequences for this. Please be prepared. And third, he tells another important line. He tells, when Bharata becomes the ruler, make sure that he obeys the father, the commands of the father, which is a very, again, a subtle warning that Bharata may not be the emperor and he may not be able to follow king's command. Because if you look at the sequence of events, Dashratha very clearly says, once Rama leaves, I will die. I cannot live without Rama. And here is Rama holding Dashratha, putting his head on his lap, and is conveying this to Kaikeyi, which is, and to anyone who is, I mean, who is alert enough, this is a very clear sign that things are going to be worse. And it is also probably a message even to Lakshmana that we have to prepare for the for the bad day that are going to come. And as expected, once Rama comes out, Lakshmana is seething with anger. It's a
No,
beautiful.
but here we'll talk about one more thing. We can share that thought as to why Kekai asked for 14 years of exile.
Absolutely, yes, it's
And
an important.
Bhagavan has given us this glimpse also, and very important. See, look at the Deshakal Paristhiti, as we say, the time, place, and the country and the situation. That depending on that, everything is decided. So there is a very beautiful explanation by Swami as to why this was done for 14 years. So Raju, you want to continue with that?
Yes, brother. In fact, the reason for 14 years, as Swami explains, in those years when you don't claim any right of possession for 12 years, it is as good as giving up the ownership rights. So Kaikeyi is a lot more careful that she's adding 2 more years so that there are no complexities to this. And 14 years, if someone holds the property, it tends to be their own property. So if Bharata is becoming the prince, heir apparent of Ayodhya, then this kingdom would belong to Bharata by the fact that Rama has not claimed it for 12 years. Now, as second, I think you should delve into that.
So this is also a psychological thing. They say that for a habit formation, you need 12 years. So, which means that if you put somebody in an environment, a very regulated environment for 12 years, then that becomes their basic core nature and way of living. And after that, even if you change the environment, they will always like to come back to their core environment. They may enjoy that, but their heart will always seek back. So they will not be over possessive about the new environment. So she thought that the logic that if he remains for 14 years, then his liking for that lifestyle would have taken roots strong, because knowing Rama, she knew that Ram will follow everything meticulously. So obviously, then the formative habits will be made, and then Ram may not come back aggressively to demand his rights. So that is the logic behind 14 years. Unfortunately, people forget Ram was Ram, so neither Bharat nor Ram, both of them never developed any attachment or habits. But that is a very subtle reason for 14 years of exile. And this is the logic. I don't know how else to put it away. It's such a beautiful thing. But I'm glad that, at least Bhagwan explains these things and we get an idea about how people remain in that. The psychology and everything is taken into account while we are developing this. So here is a story now, and obviously we know how Dashrath and Kekai are emotionally talking about each other. But Ram obeys and comes back, and he first goes to Mother Kaushalya. And now imagine he has just left Mother, who has done charity, who has planned everything for him tomorrow, and now he breaks this news in a very matter of fact manner that, Mother, this is the instruction my father has given me. And look at Kaushalya also. I'm sure she must be heartbroken. It is not easy, but she took it, and she is actually dumb. Bhagwan does not, he explains that she is totally speechless. And Lakshman is standing there and he's exhibiting anger. He is totally upset. In fact, he in fact uses very harsh words towards his father. And that dialogue, Raju, it's very important, that how these both brothers are talking about father. And look at how carefully, but not so carefully, I should say, Lakshman abuses his father and he's so against him. My God. What do you
Yes,
say?
brother. Absolutely. In fact, as also Swami so picturesquely describes, when Rama comes out of the palace, they offer him the silver chariot, they offer him the royal umbrella, but he whisks them away. He says he doesn't need, he doesn't deserve that, and he goes by foot. Rama does not speak a word, but the message is clear. People have got a sense of what is happening, what is conspiring. So Rama walks. They said Rama walks to Kausalya's court, and as you said, the conversation happens, and Lakshmana by then has already communicated again the damaging news, and he is so disturbed. He uses even in spite of all that emotion that he is clouded with. He uses so tactfully for uh, points of argument, where he says first one, it is one who lacks political morality, and he explains to why father, or rather the king, that is lacking political morality. Second, one who gives up worldly wisdom, he explains as to how Dasratha gave up worldly wisdom. Third, one who gives up the paternal affection, then he talks about how Dasratha gave up the paternal affection. Fourth, one who is acting as per the whims and fancies of someone else or his own self. It's a whims and fancies. They're not logical, not dharmic. And he gives reasons to how Dasratha is acting as per whims and fancies. Very carefully, he destroys the arguments that Dasratha had and the command that Dashtata gave. In spite of all the emotion, I mean, it's a very beautiful display of a very bright display of Lakshmana's prowess of intellectual superiority as well as his emotional imbalance. One side he is building up this argument, other side he uses the words like take up this throne, and whoever opposes you, they will have to taste taste the arrows from my bow. We will see who will oppose you and all that, which is a very beautiful way of describing his mental disturbance. And Rama counters it so well. I mean, if you look at that conversation, and I think whether this is an important point that all of us should be uh, cognizant of. Had Rama not been there in that position, the stream of argument would have gone in some other direction. Right with Lakshmana, and then comes Kausalya, and then comes Sita. All their arguments in the beginning, they start with opposing the decision. But it
Not
is
with
Rama.
Sita. We'll talk
Yeah,
about Sita later on.
yeah,
Not
yeah.
Sita. Yeah, with
Okay,
Kaushalya.
and Lakshmana. I meant Sita only questions why did he do so. She does not abuse Dasharatha, but Lakshmana and Kausalya, the arguments go in against for the motion. So had Rama not been there, the consequences of their arguments would have been very stern actions. But it is Rama's presence which makes all the difference. The minute they turn to go away, Rama is the one who holds and deflects the arguments, and he brings them to the point of dharma. He's always his center point. He's focused on dharma. He says, "Come what may." First of all, he destroys his hatred towards Bharata. He tells Lakshmana that Bharata is not capable of doing such thing. Second, he elevates his father. He says, "You look at my father. He has done so many things. He is a man of great achievements, of great intellectual capacity." And third, he also does not deride Kaikeyi. He very beautifully tells that Kaikeyi is just an instrument in passing the king's order. I mean, look at that intellectual, the clarity on Rama's argument. He is discerning each point. Look at the character. Yes, my father is flawless in his character. Look at my brother's character. He is all loving to me. Look at the way in which Kaikeyi asked. She only related or
Conveyed.
conveyed the king's command. And why is father crying? Because he is not able to oppose the decision. So he so carefully discerns each behavioral pattern, and he sums it up saying that come what may, it is the duty of a son to follow the commands of his father. And it is the
And that
duty.
too when father and the father is the emperor. So
Yes,
I cannot we cannot disobey him.
we cannot
And
disobey
he
him.
tells mother in a very nice way that mother, I have come here to take your permission to go to Dandaka. So he has not come to complain. He has not come to inform. He has come to take permission to leave for the forest. So those arguments don't exist at all, and that is the beauty I find here in Ram and Kaushalya's discussion. And Lakshman is playing his cards. Like Lakshman says, "Okay," because but now Lakshman's dharam, it's a very interesting again. One son is suggesting that I have been commanded to leave. I am leaving. Another son, Ram, says to him that Lakshman, now you be here and look after the parents, look after the state, and when Bharat comes, help him. And Lakshman said, nothing doing. This king has lost his head, and I cannot follow a king who has lost his dharma. And I can't live without you, and I will come with you. So the argument of Lakshman to go with Ram is also very interesting because Lakshman has made a wonderful arguments, and in the end, when he says to Ram that Ram, I am nothing without you, I cannot even breathe without you. So if you leave me and go, that will be the last day of my life. And when he concludes his arguments with this statement, Ram gives him. I find this also very interesting. As they say, dharma is what your consciousness tells you. It is that. So if you exceptions all happen when God is in play. When Lakshman says this statement at the end, that Ram, I will not live even a second without you, and I am nothing without you, Ram gives him. And that is a very beautiful, I find conclusion. And Ram says, okay, get ready. And Ram now leaves for Sita apartment, and Lakshman goes to Urmila's apartment, his wife. Now, these two dialogues are interesting. How these two meet. So, Ram comes to Sita, and very beautifully Bhagavan has described it, that Ram gives Sita the detailed description of what has happened, but in his tone, there's a humanness there, I would say. In his tone, he has played it in such a way that he's trying to say to Sita that, my father gave a promise and now he's stuck. So he's trying to play that game that, Sita, don't mind. It is not a father's fault, it's not mother's fault, but he has given this promise and now he has commanded me, so I must leave. And I have come to inform you that you be here and I'm going to leave. An immediate response of Sita is very interesting. She says, why there is a kind of confusion in your voice tone. This is a father's command and you must follow it. We must obey. So there is no question. I will just get ready to leave with you. So she is so matter of fact and prepared. And that is where I realized that Swami used to say that Ram and Sita are shadow of each other. So the way Ram thinks, exactly the way Sita also thinks. So Ram accepted the news very casually and naturally, and even Sita accepted the news in a very natural manner. And she, in fact, tells Ram that why are you putting it in such a roundabout manner? You got an instruction, we should follow, and I'm going to get ready. And then Ram says, "Hello, hold on. Where are you coming? The command is only for me." So Raju, now take the story forward and say how Sita convinces Ram that she should go with Ram.
Absolutely. In fact, she is when Rama enters, she notices, unlike Kausalya, she notices the absence of the royal umbrella, and she asks that first question: "Why did you come in like this?" And when Rama answers, it's a very nice way of asking Ramachandra. She says she does not abuse Dashratha, unlike others. She tells, she in fact reflects Rama's adoration to Dashratha, that Dashratha is a man of great intellectual prowess and a man of great dharma. So there must be a reason as to why he has done it. So tell me the reason. And then Rama goes about that explaining the reason. And she, when Rama tells her that she has to stay back, Sita comes into a very powerful argument. She gives that you are, you and me are or Ardhanarishwaram. I am like half of you. So that command equally applies to me. It is not just to you. You are not free from me, and I am neither am I free from you. If the command is given, it is also to me. And then Rama puts in an argument saying, be here and serve the father-in-law, mother-in-law. And she tells him back that when the son himself is leaving that father and mother in that grief, why am I or who am I to serve them? Now, Ramachandra tries to scare her with the challenges of being in a
Of the
forest,
forest life.
and Sita hits back again, equally saying that who is this talking? The son of the Sian of Ikshaku, who has guarded the yajnas of Vishwamitra, who has wielded away Rakshasas like Tataki, Marichas. Wow, is he telling me that he can't protect me? Rama is almost not defense. And beautifully, as you pointed out in the case of Lakshmana, she again brings that it's a very powerful indication to all of us. What does surrender mean? She says, if you are not there, I am not going to be around. I will not be alive if you are not there. I don't want a place without you, and I won't exist without you. And that is when Rama gives in. It's a pattern, same pattern where you observe that the absence of you, the so-called you, the absence of the you that I mean, or the I that I mean, that is the beginning of the surrender. I mean, that is when you are allowing that universal flow to flow through you. If you look at Ramachandra, there is that. If you look at that entire pattern as universe, that supreme intelligence has taken a decision, and Rama, being Rama, he is becoming absolute conduit for that decision to flow through. It is in his wisdom. We are not able to see the whys and whats of and ifs of it. But Rama, in that supreme wisdom, he is become complete conduit. He says that line that it is my duty to obey the command of my father. I am not really bothered about consequences. While on the other hand, it is Lakshmana, Kausalya, they are in fact reflections of our own mind. When the universe has taken a decision, when we have to be conduits for that decision to flow through. And we see it's only Rama and Sita who have been that selfless. When I mean selfless, the absence of the smaller self, absence of the perception, judgments, experiences that have made this idea called me. When that is absent, the universal consciousness flows unobstructively and it achieves much greater good that we can ever imagine. That is what I think Rama and Sita are showing us through this.
I forgot to mention a small thing which Swami has mentioned, but it is important to highlight that it is Ram who gives instruction to Lakshman to go and get permission from the mother Sumitra. So when he agrees that Lakshman should accompany, he said, "Go to mother first and take her permission." And that is where Lakshman leaves for mother's permission, Sumitra's permission. And Ram comes to Sita. And before leaving, they do a circumambulation around Mother Kaushalya. So this is a ritual which I wanted to highlight. Like Swami says, when we left first time for holidays, I remember Bhagwan gave us a clear instruction how do we meet our parents. And he had instructed one of the things was we should touch the feet of our parent. So many of us were not used to touching feet. But his instruction was touch the feet, and he said, you must touch the feet as you touch the feet, as you touch my feet, which means our forehead must touch their feet. That was an instruction of Bhagwan. And imagine first time you're meeting your parents after that, and you have to touch the feet anywhere in the world. You can meet at the station, at the airport, or at home. You have to really go down and let your forehead on their feet. So that was a kind of instruction Bhagwan has given how one should respect and revere your parents. So imagine here he has mentioned that not only touches the feet of the mother, he circumambulation around Kaushalya, and then he goes to meet Sita. So this is how they close. And here Sita has agreed. Now let us come to Lakshman and Urmila. That is another beautiful character. I would say Urmila is, in fact, unfortunately, we don't know much about Mandavi and Shrutkirti. It's not too much discussed, those characters, but 100% sure they were equally great and, sacrificing. But Urmila is another character which is underplayed in Ramayana a lot, at least in narrations. So let us look at her as a character when she meets Lakshman and Lakshman breaks this news to her.
Yes, brother. I
Do you want
think
to start?
in this context, we should also highlight another point that Sita makes. It is an important point for any householder. She tells that I understand the hesitation that you are voicing, and I promise that I will be leading a life of brahmacharini, just like you. So avoiding all uh, the attractions of a wife and husband. So this is the same sentiment that Urmila reflects. When Lakshmana goes to Urmila, she is in fact preparing Lakshmana's belongings. She tells him, "You go, don't worry, I will stay back." And it is your responsibility to take care of your parents, but now allow me to do that responsibility because I am your half. She is using again similar arguments of Sita, but to suit a very different outcome. So here again, Urmila tells Lakshmana, "I don't want to be a burden to you, so that's why I'll stay back." There, Sita is telling Rama, I promise you that I will be a brahmacharini, and it is a responsibility of the wife to follow wherever husband goes. Here she says, it is a responsibility of the wife to take the responsibility of the husband. Dharma, as Swami says, it is
Yeah, the argument is very beautiful here because Urmila says that you are following your brother to serve him.
yes,
So my accompanying you will become a distraction for you. Then you have to protect me as well as serve your brother. So I would like not to be an obstruction or any hindrance. in your service, and I will serve you from being here to your parents so that you don't worry about your parents' welfare. That becomes my responsibility. So imagine both of them are playing, as you said rightly, both of them they're doing this their dharma as they perceive dharma to be. So Sita accompanies Ram, and Urmila sacrifices to go with her husband because both are acting like a servants. So I am serving you, you are serving Ram, so I must share your responsibility. And the beauty of which Raju, I find is, and Bhagwan has mentioned it, the moment Lakshman says that Ram has been instructed to do this, Urmila's first response is that, okay, I will prepare your departure. So Lakshman is shocked that she didn't even raise objection. And that is where Urmila tells him this explanation. But the beauty of that Swami is, I love Bhagwan's that depiction, that Urmila never even raises one sentence of objection. She in fact supports the husband and says, you go and I will prepare everything for you. And it's a fantastic, eye-opener thing that how Urmila conducts in the absence of Lakshman. So that is Urmila for us. And dialogue between Lakshman and Urmila is mind-boggling. So no obstructions. I'm your Ardhangini. I will take care of your responsibility. You have decided to serve your brother. I will serve you by taking care of your parents. Amazing, eh?
Absolutely. It's stunning that the way in which it's there is a reason I think why Swami has also dealt so much time. You look at the wife and two wives and two three different couples, Dashratha and Kaikeyi, Dashratha Kausalya, complete dissonance, fighting, crying, abusing, one hurling abuse on another. And here Rama comes to Sita, both are in complete sync. And Lakshmana goes to Urmila, they are in complete sync. You actually can't differentiate whether it is actually Lakshmana or Urmila. Like the female form of Lakshmana appears to be Urmila, female form of Rama appears to be Sita. They are so harmonized with each other that you actually see no difference in their characters. I think it also shows a lot about their upbringing, about ways and means in which a selection of bride and groom should happen for marriages. There's so much of wisdom in sage Vasishta's uh, agreeing a decision to get Sita and Rama married. No, that is why the presence of gurus, presence of elders in marriages make a lot of difference. And these are instances where we see as to how important it is to have such learned wise men. There is a Telugu story that goes on that when Dasratha was so enamored with Kaika's prowess that he, on the spur of the moment, like the other decisions, he decides to marry her, and there's a warning that he gets. He unfortunately ignores that as much as she is beautiful, she will also be the cause of your sorrow. He just underplays it. And who was advising Dashrath at that time? Mantra. He's of his same age, who has not experienced life as much as an elder like Vasishta. But here, Rama's marriage was overseen by all those sages and saints. It's a very beautiful way of depicting as to how the traditions of Bharat are practical and how they kind of hold families together. I think it's also brother Srinivasan was asking a question as to whether Vasishta was consulted for reversing the decision. He was
Yes,
as
I was
Swami,
reading that. Yes. Yes, Raju, go on.
yeah, as Swami writes, there is no mention of Vasishta being consulted about reversing the decision. The decision is taken. It is, in fact, there is actually no
No,
decision.
Raju, I know, I have read once, Bhagwan says that there was, Vashishta tries to tell Ram, in fact, others, I'm not sure, but was it Vashisht himself or anybody else? They try to tell Ram that any decision which are done like that can be reversed by the counselors coming together. But Ram counters it. Ram
Yes,
says
brother.
those decisions which are not yet decided can be done. But here, my father's words are final. This is
Yes, it is.
Raghukul Reed. You know the
It is not.
Raghukula's Reed. It is
It
a
is the other.
promise given by my.
Yes, brother. It is the other. I'm
Sorry.
not getting his name. It is Vasishta's. He's also. He also gets thrashed by Rama in the forest. I'm not getting his name. It is. It starts with the other sage who was with Vasishta. He was the one who makes this argument. Vasishta was in fact silent. In fact, he tells at one point under discourse, Swami says that look at the prowess of Rama, that for the same muhurtam that I have kept for coronation, he used the same muhurtam to walk out of the kingdom. That is Rama. He can overrule any decision by anybody, even person like me, the Brahmarshi like me. Uh, and that other, I'm sorry, I'm just not getting his name. He literally gets thrashed by Rama three times. One is this, when he suggests that overrule Dasratha. Second time he comes along with Bharata to the forest and tells him that now you can overrule the promise that was made. You can come back because your brother is asking. There again Rama gets upset with him. Third is the place when Rama returns after the Ravana war, and makes a submission to Rama that you can. So there is that partition which Swami explains that story, that Bharata had given, Shatrughna had given some donation to a Brahmin, and now the Brahmin is asking that honor my donation, and Shatrughna tells him that Rama has come. Rama will take the final call. So, and the sage supports that yes, Rama used to take the final call. Rama again gives him back, saying Shatrughna was the king that time. I mean, was the acting ruler, regent. His decision is final. He gives that back. That so these are three times where this particular sage, got kind of anointed by Rama into dharmic ways of living.
See, as per the Dharmic code, they say that the decision to reverse, even the discussion to reverse, must be done only under certain rigid circumstances. And those circumstances must be which impacts the general population.
Hmm.
Here, the decision was impacting only Ram, and hence Ram says, because this decision is only involving me, it will be selfish for reconsideration. So that is the argument which comes. Now I recall. That is the argument which Ram gives, that reversal, yes, there is a provision for reversal, but that is only when population is involved. In this decision of my father and the emperor, only I am involved. Hence, reversal is not an option to be considered. See, dharma is very subtle, very subtle. And as you rightly said, if you miss it slightly also, we can get deviated completely. So thank you, Brother Srinivas, for this beautiful question. If there's between Father's command and Guru's directive, which one of these? He's asking another very good question. I will flash this question because it's interesting. My query is to get clarity on the issue. If there is a situation to choose between Father's command and Guru's directive, which one of these takes precedence?
The answer is in Swami's words. Let me just trying to search for that particular paragraph where Swami clearly voices it through Rama. Come, come what may, even if your father is a lunatic, it is your uh, it is your duty, dharma, to obey his command, because he is the reason for your existence. And in Telugu, Swami gives that line. He says, you don't even exist without his presence. So it is father's command that takes precedence over everything else. It is Rama who says these words.
But when he's talking about Guru and Father, if they are in contradiction to each other, see, I
Yes.
don't know. It's a difficult situation to answer, But I would suggest from Bhagwan's understanding, what I understood is that when the decision, whose welfare is in mind, if you look at it that way, if the welfare of change of decision is on you, then it doesn't take precedence. But if the decision is impacting the masses, that takes the precedence.
And also, brother,
Here,
I
the
think we
father's
should
decision, sorry,
go on. No, I was only saying. I think also we should get in the aspect of intentions and consequences that Swami mentions in Dharma
yes, yes,
Vahini.
that we'll discuss it later on. Then we'll come to know. Yes, that's truth actually.
That
So
clarifies the.
yeah, that we'll look at dharma in that perspective, and there we can Srinivas will look at it more closely. Just few minutes more, and we'll go into it. Sister Sunita had asked, did Rama quote any Telugu or Sanskrit poem with Hanuman and army of monkeys during the search for Sita on Var in Lanka? Did Swami quote any discourse any time? Sister, we'll look at these things when we reach there. But as far as Swami is concerned, yes, he has in fact sung Ramayana so many times. I'm sure there will be something. We'll look at it later. Your questions can keep flowing. So let us look at Raju. Let us look at these three mothers and look at their character and see how each one of them followed their dharma and what kind of messaging these mothers convey. Kaushalya, who was an embodiment of Dharma Shastra, she accepts it. Obviously, her pining mother's heart vents out little bit, but she accepts it as a father's command and she goes silent. Sumitra, who has already dedicated herself as servant, she is the middle mother, but she has already made up her mind that her life, the purpose of her becoming mother is to serve from her side and from her son's side. So he tells Lakshman, she tells Lakshman in a very straightforward manner, your duty is to serve your brother, and hence you must follow him and do every bit. Make sure that Ram is never in discomfort. Can you imagine a mother sending her son off to forest with that kind of instruction that don't worry about anything else. Your focus should be only on your brother. So that is Sumitra. Then you have Kekai, who out of her, you can say, love for son, keeping aside that dialogue which Bhagwan said between Ram and Kekai, if you just look at it, what is visible to all of us, she acts on her dharma because she recalls that her son was supposed to be the emperor, the king, and out of her, the positioning of hers was that she feels that is her right to ask. Now, was she in dharma in that moment? And that is a question. But all of three have conducted in the manner in which they felt appropriate. And how all of three, except that part of Kekai in which her personal emotions overrides her judgment as a queen, both of them have displayed, Kaushalya and Sumitra have displayed excellent dharmic conduct. What do you say, Raju?
Absolutely, brother. In fact, to an extent, yes, there is no doubt that all the three have stood in, played their roles to the perfection. Yeah, the emotions, and it's very clear as to how Swami kind of makes this character threadbare through his writings. So Kausalya, who was holding till then, she also gets emotional, and there is an outburst, a brief outburst about her challenges in life with Dasharatha and how she was conned and how she was ignored. And then Rama brings her back again to the path of Dharma. She composes herself, but she kind of becomes unconscious. And Sumitra, on the other hand, in the beginning, we see her cursing her fate that she is just a nobody, and her son would eventually be the servant to either sons. But eventually, she reconciles with the fact, and then she begins to love all the four equally. Kaikeyi, we know the great sacrifice that she has done. If you look at their characters also, that ability to accept. Uh, one of the students had so once asked Swami as to what is the definition of surrender. Swami gave that beautiful definition. The best form of surrender is to accept whatever happens to me as good. This is happening for my good only, and that is the best form of surrender. And if you look at these three women, they have done exactly the same.
In fact,
What
you
about?
mentioned about Sumitra. Raju, if
Yes,
you recall, Sumitra also had that thought, as Bhagwan also mentions, for a very momentary,
for a
at
momentary,
the very,
yes.
so her thought, and immediately she gets clarity, and then onwards, she has never deviated from that.
Absolutely. Swami is very clearly telling us that as a human, you are bound to fail. But the way in which the resilience you display, how quickly you bounce back. Kausalya had her failing and she immediately bounced back. Sumitra had her failing, she immediately bounced back. And Kaikeyi, similar. It does not matter whether you fall. As a human, yes, you might fall, but what matters is how long will you take to bounce back, and how long are you having the fortitude to hold back on that path. That defines what you are and who you are. This is exactly the way in which these three women have displayed their roles. And as we
Amazing.
discussed, son, the progeny is the reflection of mother, and Rama being Ramachandra, Lakshmana being Lakshmana, Bharata being Bharata. They can't be what they are without these mothers. If Rama is such embodiment of dharma, it is because Kausalya taught him since his birth. If Lakshmana is such embodiment of service, imagine what all would have gone into Lakshmana's head through Sumitra's words. If Bharata, as Swami says, the greatest example of Sarupya is Bharata himself. He has not seen Rama
Yes.
for 14 years, but yet he becomes Rama. We have only heard of Samipya, Sayujya, but Sarupya is the only one to have ever attained Sarupya. Which, in fact, in one discourse, Swami says, even Hanuman, it seems he feels ashamed when he looks at Bharata that I have stayed with Rama for 10 months, I have fought on his side for 78 days, but yet I am what I am. Man was not seen Rama for 14 years has become Rama himself. That devotion is not possible. Yes, there was that momentary flip in Kaikeyi. As a human, you are bound to fail at some point or other. But imagine how much would have built Bharata word by word, instruction by instruction, that such a great devotee is shown to the world through her womb. They are not ordinary mothers. We
See,
cannot
I
describe.
like your point. I really like your point that each one faltered. Can you imagine if you look at the character of these mothers? They made one mistake. Everybody made one mistake. If you call that a mistake, such
Yes.
mistakes I think we make every minute of our life.
Yeah.
Okay, like Sumitra's thought is a mistake. They are calling it, but can you call that a mistake? My God, Kaushalya, one outburst because her son is going to forest. One outburst, we call it as a mistake. But is it really mistake from today's perspective? Impossible. So imagine they have, as you said, bounced back, and they never repeated that mistake in rest
Yep.
of their life, and that is something adorable, and that is something which makes them a worthy mothers of Avatar. Beautiful. Let's look at other character, Raju. So you have brothers now,
Yeah.
and these four are also amazing. Now, if you look at, of course, let's park Ram for some time. We'll come back to him. But look at Bharat, Lakshman, and Shatrugni. Look at how these three have conducted, and that is a very beautiful, aspect of Ramayana too. Lakshman, as we discussed, he argued with Ram and he accompanies him. Bharat, on the other hand, followed the protocol, but he gave up everything. In fact, he lived outside the territory of the palatial kingdom. So that was called, what is it called?
Nandigram.
Nandigram.
Nan-
He lives and he follows the same protocol as Ram. And Bhagwan once mentioned that the dress which they show in the movies is not the dress which Ram wore. We show them in a orchard, that dhoti. He says that is not the dress they wear, because the promise which Kekri has taken, they have to live like Vanvasis. So that is actually made up of some kind of tea tree barks.
3 bucks. Yes.
Yes, and it's made up from that, and they have to tie that. That's why Sita did not even know about the dress, so she didn't know how to wear it. And Bhagwan says that Ram himself takes her and dresses her up, because Sita had got no clue. She was brought up in different environment, so she had no clue what is this dress and how to wear it. So Ram helps her in dressing. That same dress they wear for 14 years. And here Bharat, sitting in Nandigram, wears that dress and lives that same life for 14 years.
Absolutely. So
So
there is that.
father gives one command to one brother, and look at the repercussions of it. And Bharat feels his dharma, he cannot follow Ram. Look at that. So his interpretation is he cannot follow Ram without his permission. He has been commanded to look after the palace. But he says, I will look after it in your representation. And hence he says, I will live outside as exactly like my brother lives. And Shatrughna, poor fellow, is stuck. In fact, Bhagwan mentions it so beautifully, even in Ramayana it is mentioned. Shatrughan is found to be many times cursing, many times depressed. He says, what sin have I committed that I must wear these royal clothes? What sins I must have committed that I am supposed to be, living this life when my brothers are having a different life? Can you imagine Shatrughan's dilemma? Shatrughan is supposed to wear because he is supposed to be in the court conducting. He is representing Bharat. Bharat is ruling, not ruling, representing Ram. And the Ram's representation is his padukas, his footrest. Can you imagine this whole sequence? These are the four brothers.
Absolutely. Fantastic.
It's an amazing characterization, and all of them have played their part as per their prescribed dharma.
And each one of them took different paths, but the
Different paths.
outcome was almost similar. I mean, all of them wanted, and there is this beautiful point that was made by one of the brothers from Team Radio Sai. He said when a discussion was of a similar nature was happening, Swami pointed out that one common characteristics, even though the decisions apparently look contradictory and the actions look contradictory, one common characteristic amongst all the four was their selflessness. All four of them were selfless. They
Selfless.
did not do it for the glory of their own self, but for a higher principle called dharma, and that made all the difference.
I think
Rama
this is a
for
very important thing. How do we define this dharma? That becomes an issue. But let us look at it. How these brothers are conducted. I find it very amazing. And you're right, this description of each one, how they looked at it. For Ram, father's word was the final word. As an emperor, as a father, he followed that dharma. Bharat also followed the command. He ruled, but yet not ruled. Lakshman also followed his command and followed his brother. But all four of them lived the life exactly like Ram. They lived a celibate life, 14 years. They discarded all the comforts of the royalties. Even Shatrughna, it seems they mention that he used to sleep outside Nandigram, outside the hut of Bharat. So Bharat used to live in Nandigram, Shatrughan would come and sleep outside, and Lakshman and Ram were obviously in the forest. The only difference was that Shatrughan was wearing royal costume. Isn't it beautiful, like how these four brothers have conducted?
Beautiful, beautiful. In fact,
Let's look at.
when we had done this
Let's
drama on Chaturghna in
hmm,
2017, the Ideal Brothers, one incident which we chanced upon through one of the senior brothers' interaction with Swami. They were feeding on Dashrath. It seems when Shatrugna was ruling as a regent, they were feeding on the death anniversary on that particular Vardhanti day of Dashratha. There was a feast that was organized in Ayodhya for years. It is like it's a tradition of Ayodhya, and Shatrugna was overseeing it. And one such occasion, one of the Brahmin, uh, he dies after having that food. So nine Brahmins was it's a tradition. You either serve 9 or 11 Brahmins. So one of the Brahmin dies, and that blame comes to the ruler, the regent, Shatrugna, and he's clueless as to why it happened. And that is when Vasishta comes into his rescue, and he through his meditation he sees that site where a snake was carried by an eagle. An eagle had taken hold of a snake and it was carrying that snake over that venue, and drops of poison have fallen into the Brahmin's plate. Now, who is to be
oh my
blamed?
God.
He says, uh, Vasishta asks the question, who is to be blamed? Is it the decision of Yamaraja to kill the snake exactly at that point, or is the Brahmin who is sitting there and ready to eat, or is it the selfless king who was selfless regent who has organized such a massive feast in the memory of his father? Who should be blamed? And the entire court falls in silence. But Shatrugna, being Shatrugna, he goes and seeks his pardon from Bharata that this has happened, and Bharata gives him the example of Rama's the the one line that Bharata, because there's a lot of confusion as to who should take the blame. Bharata tells him, "How could have Rama acted in this scenario? Think." That's the only direction that Bharata gives Shatrugna, and clarity comes in. Shatrugna atones for his sin through supporting that Brahmin. There's a donation that he makes, and for the to that Brahmin's family, which was later contested by Vamadeva. So each one has lived his role to the perfection.
So
Such
what is the solution which Shatrughan comes with
Shatrugna
to
promises
support
to take Shatrugna promises to take care of the Brahmin's family for the rest of uh,
their
life.
life? Okay,
So
okay. So
as
there's
an
nobody's fault, but they are suffering. So take care of them.
as an
Beautiful.
atonement, he gives part of the kingdom, a land. He donates to that Brahmin's family, which later, when Rama returns, Vamadeva is that sage who was referring to. He was the one who tells Rama that he can overrule Shatrugna's decision, and that's when Rama gives him back third time, saying that I cannot do it because whatever Shatrugna has done, he has done it as a in full authority, and I abide by his decision. Look at even that greatness of Rama or Bharata. They had given that complete freedom. Rama, at no point, even from worldly sense, that there was a trace of suspicion that I know of my neighbors who are actually falling, fighting day in and day out. There are one younger brother, elder brother, and even if the elder brother parks his car outside his home, there would in within few minutes there would be a massive fight, because the younger one suggests that the elder one would take petrol from the car's tank, would steal petrol from the car's tank. That is the case of the brothers of current days. And
Oh God. Okay, let us look at the other. We have wives, the bridegrooms, or sorry, brides. So you have Sita, Mandavi, Urmila, and Shrutkirti. So, well, looking at these four ladies, as we noticed, Sita obviously, we saw she was a mirror image of Ram. Raju, you're there, right? So
Yes,
Sita
brother,
is
I'm
a
there.
mirror image of, yeah, mirror image of Ram. She conducted exactly like she felt, she should in terms of following Ram. Urmila, we have seen how she conducted because she felt that her husband has to serve the brother and she must, being Ardhangini, she does the job. Mandavi, imagine, I feel sometimes Shrutakirti and Mandavi, it is again a difficult task. All three of them, everybody is so important. Bharat's wife, I wonder if somebody should highlight and give us the clarity about how did these two ladies live. Because what we hear a little bit is that Mandavi and Shrutakirti and Urmila, obviously Mandavi was helping Bharat in execution and serving their mother-in-law. So they conducted like that. But more, I find it interesting that if the husbands are able to do their job, if the husbands are able to perform dharmically, a good credit goes to the wives
Absolutely.
for supporting and assisting. So on the path of dharma, as they say when they take pledge, you know, dharma, artha, kama, these three out of the four parikramas of Agni, which they take during marriage, that is a Purusharthas, four circumambulation we take. It which says Dharma, Artha, and Kama. This is led by the lady. And the fourth, the husband, the boy comes in front and takes that path because he is now going to take responsibility of moksha. So Dharam, Arth, and Kam is regulated, governed, and managed by the lady of the house. In that, husband must consult with the wives. So this Ramayan being so perfect, Bharat would not be Bharat if not for Mandavi. Shatrughan would not be Shatrughan if not for Shrutkirti. Lakshman would not be Lakshman without Urmila.
Remember this
These,
instance. Sorry, go
yes,
on.
please go on.
No, it's just funny incident that strike my mind where one Swami had come out of the interview room, and he was regaling a pity of a helplessness of a devotee. This particular senior devotee, senior in the sense he's in a government position, so he got posted to a very remote place. So this devotee comes to Swami crying, seeking Swami's intervention's help. And so I can visualize that the way in which Swami was laughing and he was explaining, it is so clear. He says, "Look at this particular poor fellow. He comes to me, not for seeking blessings of his promotion or for seeking permission to go to the remote place. But the day he got his transfer order, his wife left him. She said, I'm going to my mother's place. You do whatever you want. You go to the remote place, I will not come with you. If you stay in Bombay, I'll be with you. Otherwise, I'm going away." And Swami is telling, "See, look at current day wives. That day, Sita walked along with Rama into the forest. Now this wife is not even walk out of Bombay." I so clearly recollect that instance. Swami kept laughing and says, "Look at the difference." And then he made that statement. He said, "This is all because of the upbringing that happened." Such a contrast of characters. And yes, as you said, the husbands cannot be brought there without the cooperation of their wives.
I really wish somebody, we had no brains to ask questions of Swami. If at all we get next chance, I would love to get into the details of the characters because this is something so wonderful to learn from them how they live their lives. It's amazing. Okay, here, Raju, I think we can discuss now Acharana Dharma. Everybody has acted based on their perception, their understanding of Dharma. And that is what makes it interesting that in spite of everything, in spite of looking different, we call them, everybody was dharmic and they lived up to that. Now, here we have in Acharan Dharma apparent contradictions. One wife saying, I will accompany you, another wife says, I will let you go. Third wife maintains the distance, says, I will maintain the lifestyle which you choose. They are near, yet they are far. So one brother says, I have to obey my father. Another says, I will not obey my father, but I will go with you. And the third brother says, okay, if I can't come, I will not accept it, what my father has commanded me to take over the reins, but I will do your service. So, Raju, if you look at it, it is a very beautiful symphony of people who are conducting in their perception of Dharma, and yet they are all correct. So, here comes the point of Acharan Dharma as to how do we understand Acharan. For those who don't have Hindi as the background or Sanskrit, Acharan is action, conduct. The dharma of conduct, how do you conduct and behave and perform your actions, is called acharan. So the dharma of conduct, the dharma of action, the dharma of performance we are discussing. How do we justify apparent contradictory behavior of all these brothers and their wives and their mothers?
Yes, bro.
So look at each one is kind of different, and yet everybody is together. How do we understand it? And I think Bhagwan has helped. So Raju, please share
Yes,
and
in,
help.
in Dharmavayani, Swami gives the answer. He says, ages might change, times might change, practices, circumstances might change. But what doesn't change is Atma Dharma. Swami builds a pyramid, two blocks of Dharma. Atma Dharma is constant, it is eternal, it is same across ages, times, circumstances, people. But the other aspect of dharma that we changes is the acharana dharma, the dharma of the conduct. Says that is based on desha kala paristiti that keeps changing. And the only way in which this acharana dharma can be judged, or Swami gives the example of the Godavari river being in spate. How do you control this Godavari river which is in spate? You need two bunds to ensure that it flows properly to the destination. And what are the two bunds? Swami says that first is the intent, second is the outcome. These are the two criteria on which dharma gets determined. Now, if you look at the intent of all the characters involved, it is selfless. It is it is love for God. Intent is pure. Outcome, yes, they are really not uh, bothered about outcome, but it is selfless in nature. And as we just discussed, that base of it is the Atma Dharma, where divinity is the basis. They have reposed their entire faith in Rama and love for Rama, and they've acted upon. And everything turned out to be right. I mean, it's just not only here. You look at, for example, the case of Mahabharata, where Krishna orders his army to join Kaurava's camp. Krutavarma, the commander, comes to Krishna and says, I don't like to fight against you, but yet, since you commanded, I will join. And I will do my duty to the best. In fact, he goes to such an extent where he joins along with us because it is Krishna. He is following blindly Krishna's command. He follows the command to the T, to the last line of the T. He goes along with Ashwadhama to kill the sleeping Upapandavas. To such an extent, Krutavarma follows because his job given by Krishna is to annihilate the enemy. On the other side is the great devotee, lover of Krishna. Satyaki, he says, he goes to Krishna next day and says, hell with whatever you say. I am not going to follow what is because I can't live without you. I can't even imagine a life without you. I am going to fight being your side. I will be on your side and I'll fight. If that condemns me to hell, so be it. If I die in the war, so be it. But my love takes precedence over everything else. My love for you cannot be compromised. And he fights on the side of Pandavas. And strangely, only two Yadavas were left alive in the war. One is Kritavarma, second is Satyaki. Even though they fought on either side, even though one obeyed Krishna, one disobeyed Krishna, but yet the result was same. And same is the pattern we see here. One has gone with husband, one has stayed back, one son obeyed, one son did not obey. The actions really don't matter, but what is actually like the two ends of the action, the intent and the outcome, that determined the the final result.
So if you look at Acharan Dharma, the intent, if I understand it, is like, the intent of the action, any action, as Bhagavan says, you and the world and God. If you put these three in a sequential order, so if the intent is serving you, then it is the least on the performance of dharma. The better than you is the world, and the best is God. So if your action's intent is God, that is a superior most, and that is karma yoga. So when you act for God, act with the intent of God, that is a superior most karma. Next best is intent for the world. So achara dharma leads to the dharma. If any action must be done for the welfare of everybody, no action should be for the self. If we are doing anything for self, the small s, that that is the lowest kind of action. That is dharma. So in acharan dharma, the intent defines whether you are dharmic or not. So if your intent is a very beautiful pyramid I can draw. If your intent is yourself, wrong. If your intent is world, better. If your intent is God, best. The outcome actually facilitates to assess the intent. But outcome is not the only factor in the action. So people have a convenient philosophy of saying, if my output is good, I can, take any path is okay. But the intent guides the outcome. So if the intent takes precedence, and we know that if I intent is God, and the outcome has to be good of serving people, and the outcome Bhagwan has kind of helped in, the outcome must be welfare, happiness for the masses. So when these two join, the intent and the outcome, that becomes dharma, acharan dharma. And another beautiful concept is that this is not possible unless and until divinity is the basis. So, unless and until God becomes the driving force, the central point, the foundation, the core of our activity, neither the purity of intent can be maintained, nor the purity of the outcome can be guaranteed. So, if you want to know the intent and the outcome, purity and highest, then divinity must be the basis. Raju.
Beautiful, yeah, exactly. I mean, it is beautiful. The way you have said it is so beautiful. If you characterize the selfishness to selflessness, the journey, it perfectly fits. Is the intent selfish or selfless? Is the outcome, is it towards you or towards Sai, as Swami says, S for the SAI. Sai first, all others next, I last. And that is the criteria. And you look at every being, Ramayana is this example of where on the other side was this man, Ravana, and his sister, Shurpanaka. She wanted Rama. So she placed herself first. Then, when she could not get, she went to her brother. All others came next. And God, she's not in bothered. She says, "Oh, let it be." She is that immorality. And same is the case with uh, Ravana. He has placed his ego first, then his the name and fame of his clan, and then his devotion to Shiva, which is the last. And they got annihilated. And these brothers, on the contrary, Rama, Lakshmana, Bharata, Shatrughna, placed God as the first, and you know what happened. They are held ideal even to this day. I think the greatness of our scriptures, of the stories of the Lord in various forms. is this, that day in and out there is this beautiful conversation between the ex warden and Swami, where this person asked Swami that, Swami, you have, as Krishna, I find something very strange. When Shishupala insults Krishna, Krishna does not react. When Duryodhana insults Krishna, Krishna does not react. But on the contrary, the minute Shishpala begins to deride Bhishma, who actually gets up in support of Krishna, and the word Shishpala uses is Nuru Nalkalo Chilche the Orore Bhishma. I will slit your tongue into 100 pieces if you talk more, oh old man, sit down. The minute Shishpala says this, that is when Krishna takes that plate from Dharmaja's hand and throws it Shishpala's head, and it turns into a disc and cuts him off. And when Duryodhana insults Krishna, Krishna walks away. But the same Duryodhana, when he begins to insult Draupadi, he makes sure that the entire clan of Duryodhana is wiped out. So that's when Swami answered back, saying that it is this characteristic of the complete selflessness of the avatar. Avatar was not concerned about his marya, about his respect. Avatar is not really concerned about whether they praise him or insult him. He leaves border. But the minute you touch his devotee, no, he goes to every extent possible to ensure that the consequence is meted out. And this is what we find everywhere. That's the selflessness of Avatar is so inspiring. I mean, some of the words and sentences that Rama uses, they create awe in you. He is Rama because of what he is, what he spoke, what he did. Even to this day, there is that saying that Swami says, in India, every street, nook and corner of India, you will find a Rama's temple. It's because that adherence to Dharma. I mean, next day is coronation, and next minute is riding the golden chariot, and yet he shuns it away as nothing, as trinkets, and walks over to forest in the same equal equanimity, in the poise
See,
and
we,
equanimity.
we talk about Sthita Pragya. I
Hmm.
don't think anybody can depict better than Ram in that manner. Such a Sthita Pragya, when you are announced king, calm. When you are announced to go to forest, calm. When you return, you are calm. So it is like, oh my God. Here we have Srinivas saying joy. Yes, brother, the Jesus first, that is the same concept you can utilize. Uh, Raju, I'd like you to read Fanindra's quote, and I was requesting him to explain it further. Intent should be related to the contextual role and the dharma applicable for that role. Else, intent can be interpreted and based on wrong basis by individuals in their own way. I'm slightly like, I wish Sanindra could be here to explain this. Intent should be related to the contextual role and the dharma applicable for that role. So I think that is what we talk about, the acharan dharma, that whatever
Yes.
action you have to create, it should be applicable for that. Vedo khilo moolam jagat,
Ved-
dharma moolam idam jagat. Can you explain this line?
Vedoklam Moolam Jagat Dharma Moolam. Link between these two for day-to-day actions is this key understanding. So he's saying uh, Veda is the Moola for Jagat and Dharma is the Moola for Jagat, which means in some sense Dharma is Veda, or the Dharma derives itself from Veda. There is no difference between these two.
Vedo khilo moolam jagat. Veda is the basis, the core foundation of the jagat, and dharma moolam idam jagat. This also means same thing, right?
Yes, so essentially Veda is Dharma, is what his brother is driving to. So intent should be related to the contextual role and the dharma that's applicable for that role. The dharma that is mentioned in Veda, the context, the acharana dharma.
Acharan dharma.
Yes,
So
and as Swami beautifully, the beauty of Swami is he. Now, if you look at the Dharma Shastra, there are around 134 Dharma Shastra that are written in India, and I forget his name. This particular uh, sage, if we can, the modern sage, he has spent almost 50 years of his life condensing all that. And he was given, I think, Bharat Ratna for that sheer volume of work, where he writes the history and the context of Dharma Shastras, and he condenses all that. And I happened to hear from a senior devotee, after all that work, he happened to read Dharma Vahini. And it seems when he read that, it is that the punya phalam, the falashruti as we call it, like after Satyanarayana Swami Vratam, you have that falashruti, right? So after
Falashruti.
all that, he has read that Dharma Vahini, and after reading it, as I heard from a senior devotee from Bombay, this person was shivering, was shaking. He was not even able to speak few words. He says because the entire voluminous, it's a four, I think it's 4 or 5 volume of work. That entire thing is condensed into those 90 to 100 pages of Dharma Vahini. It is only God can do it. It is not possible for a human. Yes.
Beautiful. Dharmavani is very powerful, and of course, Bhagwan's writing, you can't even beat that part. My God.
Absolutely. And every, as you were saying yesterday, I think every role, Swami has condensed Ramayana into so, in such a packed, dense manner, that everything exists for a reason. Every sentence, every context,
See,
every
Raju,
character.
since you mentioned, I'm recalling another story from Ramayana right in this area, that when Ram accepts Sita's coming along with her, Ram instructions to Sita is release all the birds that you are having and give charity, give the cows away to Brahmins who will look after them well in your absence. So, like that you're not only going as a formality to the forest, he's making her leave all the possessions and any attachment in the mind, and taking care of the people or animals or birds who are under your care. So when you talk about acharan dharma, it is not restricted to what you're doing. Whatever you're influenced with is also to be taken care of.
Absolutely, brother. In
So if
fact,
you're responsible for the birds, you're supposed to take care of that also. So you can't abandon your responsibility because you are taking up another dharma. So
in
shifting of role does not allow you to neglect previous role. I think that is phenomenal.
the way Swami describes spirituality is also leaving the animal characteristic, developing human characters, sustaining human characteristics, and developing divine qualities. Now, I remember this Swami quoting this example in one of the discourses where Swami says, when you walk with God, when God becomes your focus, Pashu Lakshanas, the qualities of Pashu automatically go away. When Sita focused on Ramachandra, the Pashus, the all were given away, were sent away from Sita's fold. But the minute you focus on Pashu, the Pashupati goes away from you. She there in the forest, her focus was on that golden deer. She wanted that golden deer. The Pashupati walked away from her, and she got caught in the hands of a Pashu. It's a Mruga himself, Ravana. So Swami beautifully describes that mind is like that Sita. Now that mind, if you use Sita as a character for mind, now it has turned to Rama. Now it is bereft of all the qualities of animality. Now that same mind, when it turns to the golden, the flash of the golden deer, the trinket of golden deer, Rama leaves and Kama comes in. Think this entire life of Ramachandra is coded with so many examples that we just need to meditate upon every conversation, every circumstance, and it throws light for lives.
Absolutely. I really love it the way the whole characterization is done. And I feel blessed even to explore these lives more and more. And then he concludes this part by saying that all of them, Ram, Sita, and Lakshman, they take the blessings of the mother and start the departure. And the departure is not easy. And how it goes through, I think we'll handle it in next session of ours. We look at it how they depart, And it is something beautiful, like how everything unfolds in a slowly manner. And in next 3 days, the life is upside down. Everything is changed. Imagine overnight, Ayodhya is different. From celebrations, it goes back to mourning, and that mourning continues for 14 years. It is not easy even to imagine, like how the whole city, whole country, the whole area was in mourning for 14 years. And that is a very interesting thought also, that how people are attached, how people are connected, how people were evolved and united in their consciousness, that they could all live and feel the same way for 14 years. Because when they come back, they find everything in that state, and suddenly there is an energy coming back into the life. I can't help but remember, when Swami used to leave for a long time in his tours, Prashanti Nilayam would look very dull, and we are doing the routine is same, but there is no life. Everybody is going about doing their duties. But the moment Bhagwan's news comes that he's coming, suddenly there is energy, there is joy, there is like smiles all over, and it's different.
Absolutely.
Suddenly, you find that. So people who have experienced that can relate to it, but that's
And
how
also,
it closes.
another important lesson is when divinity objects to in any form, either through a smile or through a nod or through just being not receptive to the idea. It is up to us to catch it. Like there are instances where Swami said, "No need of sports meet," and we misinterpreted. We prayed, we cried, we pestered and pestered Swami. Finally, he had to accept it, and he took upon the fall of the boy, and he had to physically undergo a lot of pain. There are umpteen instances like this. There is that instance of where Swami tells Karnananda not to get that umbrella, the first umbrella, but everybody tells Swami that Swami, your 50th birthday, the best umbrella should come. But we know that umbrella comes and it hits the helicopter blades and it breaks. When Rama is telling Dasharatha, don't, father, please don't do it, don't be in a hurry, it is a very subtle warning. I think each one of us, that warning speaks to us, the divinity speaks to us in various forms and means. I remember this morning, one of the elders was sharing in Prashant Nilayam where he wanted to, in the morning, he had this habit of taking morning walks. So it was still cloudy and that misty, and he wanted to take that particular path for his morning walk. And there was a dog that was actually sleeping. It got up and barked twice. So he felt that it is Swami's way of indicating that the divine consciousness is speaking to him not to take the path. He avoided the path, took other path, finished his morning walk, and went back to his daily duties. And uh, around afternoon, when he comes back for lunch, his neighbor was quite concerned. He said, "Did you not? I hope you are not taking the path, that particular path." Right? He said, "No, I have today avoided." He says, "You know what? They're actually laying this, the new construction is happening. So they have left some of those blocks on the way. Morning, when I took the walk, I could see properly, so I avoided it and I almost crashed it. In spite of all that, I would have crashed. But all the time, I was fearing that your sight is not that good, so you would invariably end up falling and breaking your brittle bones. Good that you have not taken the path." That is when he realizes that the divinity, that supreme form, has instructed him through the form of the dog. It is because he was alert. He gave that alertness of mind, and that allowed him to be safe. In the same way, I think all of us should be open to the voice of the divine that is speaking all around us. I think that is the grace that we should seek from the Lord, to be able to be receptive to his command every moment. And this is what we learn, at least I personally learned from this entire episode of Rama's coronation. Had
Absolutely
Dasharatha been,
well.
things would have been very different.
There is one more closing. I think I'll tell you. People may think, uh, what if things would change? What if, that what if is a big thing when you are doing certain things. And I recall Bhagwan explaining about Krishna and Arjun, and as I was telling you, the intent of it. The Krishna says, I know Duryodhan, he will not deviate. And but there is another beautiful story about when Indra comes and asks for Kavach and Kundal, the guards of Karn, in arm, and Krishna felt very strongly about it, and he in fact scolds Indra for doing that. But Indra pleads that Krishna, with the Kavach and Kundal, it would have been almost impossible to defeat and kill Karan, and hence I did that. And he was thinking that he's not only helping his son Arjun, but he's facilitating the process of dharma. And Krishna says, you don't have to do it. If not for that, I would have done something else. I control life, I can do it. But the only trouble now, because of this, you have added to the karmic obligations. And you made Karna more stronger than before. See, we in our human ignorance or even a limited knowledge, we try to interpret God and we try to make things better for God, not realizing that God is already perfect. Our job is to follow Him, not to improve upon Him. So, our interpretations of God is our biggest problem. That is why it's important, Bhagavan is to say, follow me verbatim. What I have said, do it. I'll close with this last line. One day you are sitting in the mandir, bhajan hall, and he told, watch me how I call you. So imagine if Swami says, hey, when everybody's sitting in the bhajan hall, Bhagavan would just point a finger and say, you come. And we used to run. And I remember one day one boy jumped onto the path to run. When he reached Swami, Swami said, Vaddu, and he sent him back. Swami called him like this. That boy jumped and went onto the path and he ran. And that time, it didn't strike. We just interviewed casually. Then Swami said later on, and that made all the sense. He said, see how I've called you. If I call you like this, that means I want you to penetrate through the lines and come. But don't use your head and take a smoother path thinking that you will reach faster. That reaching faster or slower is not your judgment. The God's explicit obedience is the key. So when Bhagavan is to call like this, that means we are supposed to jump and come on the path. And when he would call like this, we are supposed to run straight away. Explicit obedience to the God with no deviations. This Sukh Buddhi is what is critical about Swami also. He would always teach that. And that is why Ram Brahmam's story, when Bhagavan called him and he went to keep the cup, teacup, and Swami said, Buddhara, it's over. And then when he saved Ram Brahmam, and then Bhagavan made a last statement to him when he said, Ram Brahmam, when you call, I have to leave and come. But when I call, you go and keep the teacup first and then come up. And that disclosed the whole concept of how Avatar functions and expects from us. I think this is what Dharma of Ramayana has taught me today. Thank you so much. Raju, any final words before we close for tonight?
Nothing, but I'm just overwhelmed and I'm grateful to the Lord for giving me this opportunity to dwell on His story and His life. It's a gold mine.
I thank all the viewers, all the participants. I would say participants because they have contributed so beautifully. And thanks to Srinivas brother and Fanindra brother for joining in. Please feel free to send us your thoughts, your views. We'll try to make this offering as best as we can. Thank you very much. And Sai Ram to everybody. Sai Ram.